I'm having one of those moments where I'm trying to understand the English language. Like, I'm a little bit confused here because series loss only has one L in it, but Tony Vitello has two L's in it. And so I'm really confused because it feels like when I think of Tony Vitello, I think series loss to Auburn over the weekend. And I don't quite know where the English language is weird. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe it's one of those British things. It's like the extra U in color and flavor and things like that. It's an extra letter in there somewhere. What a weekend. Hey, no sweep. No sweep. Almost a sweep. Auburn's one pitch away from getting the sweep.
There we go. I had to fix the view there. Sorry about that.
I'll hush if you want me to. I'll just I'll bow out if that's what you guys want. That's fine.
Let's try to find the right view for everybody there. Sorry about that. Folks, welcome into the Barn Baseball Show. Lindsay Crosby, Sonny DeShera, Brad Law. We got to talk about Tennessee because that was a weird series, kind of all around. I mean, from the antics and how they didn't pay off to the rain delay decisions. But Auburn takes 2 out of 3 from Tennessee in Knoxville. And can we just start with the weather? Because like we touched last week that this was going to be a little bit of a thing this weekend.
Yeah.
And it was, but I'm a little confused by the decision to start the game on Friday night. We're looking at the pitching matchup, Liam Doyle versus Sam Dutton. Really excited there. The game starts off in a weather delay, right? We don't even get to game time. And Brad, you were telling me that there was not a lot of information in the ballpark about what was going on during that rain delay, right?
No, there wasn't. And there wasn't a lot during the rain delay either. Normally you play music, and they didn't do that. We were just kind of sitting around in the stillness. And the weather looked like we might have had a 2 or 3 hour window earlier in the afternoon. They moved it up an hour, and we couldn't play then. So they moved it back, and then once you got to the later hours, though, once you got to where the sun was going to go down, there wasn't really a lot of question what was going to happen the rest of the night in terms of the weather. It was very apparent to anybody with a free weather app that it was going to rain for hours and hours and hours. I want to reiterate at this point that the visiting team has no say in what happens regarding the game time.
Yeah.
They're not it's the home team. The umpires and the conference don't either. It is the home team 100% that decides whether or not to start a game.
And I heard from a Tennessee media member who covers baseball, and I asked him, like, what's going on? Like, why did they play? And he's like, well, Tony doesn't like double headers. Like, okay. So you start the game in the rain, burn your starting pitcher. Auburn never has to have their guy throw a pitch, and the game gets banged into mark. Sonny, have you ever started a game and played half an inning before it went to a rain delay?
Never. That was crazy seeing that. My only thing is that he thought, maybe if they started, they could burn Dutton, knowing that that's Auburn's best guy. That's what I think. And obviously, I guess he doesn't like doubleheaders either, but it obviously did not work out that way. Doyle had a long first inning.
Nobody likes doubleheaders, right? Like, it's never a situation, even if it's 2 sevens. Like, you'd rather just play on 2 separate days than play 2 sevens in one day. Mm-hmm. Nobody likes them, but that's pretty far to go just to avoid trying to play one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seriously, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Remember just a week earlier against Mississippi State where Auburn was in the exact same situation. Game 1 looked like rain for a long time, and they didn't want to start the game and have Sam Dutton throw the first pitch, first half inning of a game. Now, it was even different here the previous week because we could have started our game at 6 and the rain was going to move in about between 7 and 7:30. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. They didn't want to burn the pitcher after an hour, after maybe 3 innings or 4 innings. So they made the very wise, proactive decision to wait. And we didn't start the game until 9:15. You got the whole game in, and both teams got to throw their ace, and it was, well managed. It just wasn't, frankly, thought out, managed well. There was no, again, it wasn't 50-50, flip a coin, maybe. There was no question that it was going to rain and rain hard for hours. There's no gray area for game one. If I can be ultra clear about that, there was no gray area.
Sonny, have you ever played in rain that hard? Like I was watching on Friday night. It was rain. It was coming down pretty good. I know they have a turf field. That's still not easy to play in, though, is it?
I mean, I don't think I've ever played in rain that hard. I mean, for a moment, maybe, like for 5 minutes of a game, maybe,
right?
But not like that. I mean, I was playing down the road, and we were walking back to riding scooters back to the hotel, and it was just pouring rain, and that wasn't any fun either. So I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, it took us forever to cancel the game too, and we were at the field for like 7-8 hours before they were like, "Okay, the game's over." And we're like, "Okay, whatever."
Just because I've kind of wondered this, like, how many different sets of uniforms are you guys bringing on a road trip? So, like, if you know it's going to rain, I assume they're bringing extra uniforms. If you have like a 2-hour rain delay, is everybody getting fresh uniforms to change into, that kind of stuff to finish up the game, or are you just wearing wet clothes 2 hours later?
I mean, we usually have 2 different jerseys and then just 2 pair of pants. And so, yeah, like if that was the case, then yeah. But I don't think that you can change jerseys during a game, though.
So, like, you don't have a second set of the same colors?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if you, say the game started at 7 and then you had a 1-hour rain delay, everybody's soaking wet, you got to go back out there in the same jersey.
Nice. That's fun. Would it be fair to say, I mean, we're going to talk about the whole series, but would it be fair to say the accumulated over the weekend, Auburn's MVP, we all picked somebody different, and as well as Cade Fisher, Christian Chatterton, and Hetzler and everybody pitched, and as well as the offense did, when you look at something like Ike Irish going 4 for 9 with a homer and 5 RBI, that kind of stuff. Would it be fair to say that Auburn's MVP may have been Tony Vitello in this series? Between the Friday night decision, right, burning somebody, and then just the way that he has set the tone for this team. Like the first inning, Liam Doyle strikes out Chris Rimbert and starts talking trash to Chris Rimbert. Like right away, first batter, he's talking trash. And Ike Irish specifically mentioned like not liking that and hitting a home run, like 2 batters later, a 2-run home run. It just felt like a lot of the stuff that happened between the teams could be traced back to the influence of Tony Vitello. And while that works at times, they won a championship last year. I feel like this weekend is kind of where you saw when you get on the other side of that line, where it just sometimes backfires on you.
I mean, it definitely can backfire on them, but they know that being who they are. So it either works or it doesn't. And obviously, I mean, the fact that they burned Doyle on the Friday night, I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in the country, striking out 2 guys an inning. I mean, that was they were already on the back burners from the start from that, which is just crazy decision.
I thought that it was a really good example this weekend of how the character and demeanor of a ball club, really of an entire organization, comes from the top down. It flows from the top down. And things got very heated at the end of game 2. When game 2,
that hard tag by Liam Doyle.
Yeah, when he tagged and pushed and started talking, just like he did when he struck out Rimbert. I mean, I don't, Liam Doyle's going to make a ton of money in Major League Baseball. He's going to, he doesn't care what I have to say. All right. And that's fine. He doesn't have to care what I have to say. But he ran his mouth after the first strikeout. He ran his mouth after he made the tag. They instigated because it's what they do. And at this point, you don't get angry about it and you're not surprised by it. They have some sort of issue seemingly every weekend with the opponent. And if that happens, it's not everybody else's fault. It's not it takes 2 to tango. It's not. It's you got an issue, you instigate, it's what you do. And Auburn came out in game 3 after Tennessee had all that momentum and they had the biggest crowd of the weekend. and they sent a true freshman to the mound, and he shoved it for 3 innings and didn't walk a batter. And then Cade Fisher came in, and he shoved it, and he hit a guy, and he walked a guy, and he worked out of trouble a little bit here and there, but he did his job. He didn't talk. He did his job. And I'm going to give and because of like that, I'm going to go with the entire coaching staff, but specifically, I'm going to go Everett Tieford as the MVP. Auburn's pitching coach.
Yeah.
Sam Dutton, Ryan Hetzler, 9 innings, 1 run, no walks. Game 1 win.
Yep.
Game 2, Chatterton on his second start of the week, and Cade Fisher demoted from a weekend starting role, gets in the ball game, finishes the ball game, 1 walk. Those two guys, game 1, game 3, you give up 2 runs to that Tennessee team. You give up 2 solo home runs to that Tennessee team in the entire series. I'm going to go Everett Tieford as my MVP.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sonny, what's it say about a team when a guy like Cade Fisher, highly touted opening day starter, gets demoted to the weekend? Gets demoted out of a starting role on the weekend into relief and can come in and just do his job that well and be like every comment that he made to the media, everybody, to radio, everything was, I just wanted to come and do the best that I could. Like, he wasn't mad about getting demoted. He didn't complain about it. He just came out and did his job. What does that say about the culture of the clubhouse?
Yeah, it shows everybody's bought in to what they're trying to do. I mean, that's tough for Cade. He's started every weekend. He's supposed to be the guy, and he's there to say, "Hey, we're going to put you in a bullpen role," and he kind of took it and ran with it this weekend. So that was good to see. That was really encouraging that he's not, just kind of giving it away. He's still bought into it.
Yeah. I will say, I think the biggest discrepancy here that just stands out when you look at the box scores is game 1 and game 3, Auburn uses 4 total pitchers for 16 innings. Tennessee, and then granted, you had to replace Doyle after the first inning of game 1, but Tennessee combined uses 13. And this is not something where like game 1 became a bullpen game. Tegan Kuhns throws 4 2/3 innings when they resume on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I think that's to your point of Everett Tieford, Brad, being the MVP, is just how prepared Auburn's staff was to take on the workload and how efficient they were, where you didn't need to go to 4 or 5 or 6 guys. Now, you use 6 guys on Saturday in game 2. Cam Tilley gave you 2 2/3. Carson Myers gave you 3 1/3. You did go to extras, though. So there's a little bit of extra grace there because you went to extras. But the pitching staff really, we've talked before about like you have a game 1 starter, and then from there you're kind of building around that. And it feels like here you absolutely, because you were able to get such a great outing out of Sam Dutton, and then Ryan Hetzler stepped up to finish that game.
Yeah,
that left you in a position to mix and match for 2 and 3 and make it happen. But credit to those guys and for Tieford for having them ready to face a tough Tennessee team on the road.
Yeah, and Hetzler could have come back maybe I do think he was going to come back to close out game 2 if Auburn had a lead in extras. And he could have come back in game 3 if needed, but you didn't have to. Tennessee, on the other hand, had to bring guys back that had not pitched all year long, back-to-back days. They had a couple guys who pitched back to 2 games in a series. You're going to have that. But I think Auburn saw 3 different relievers in the back half of game 3 that had no days off in between outings. And they got hits off of them. They were able to score runs. They were able to pad a lead. And, the cumulative effect, Sonny, you can talk about this, the cumulative effect of seeing pitchers out of the bullpen early in the series and then seeing them again later, there's a big advantage to that.
Yeah, 100%. There's stuff, one, you've just seen it already and you saw it probably less than 48 hours ago. And then 2, they're probably going to be tired and their stuff's not going to be as sharp. And that's when you really can take the advantage, because if they get you one time, that's going to happen. They're good pitchers, right? But if you face them again and their stuff's not as good, that's when you can really step on it.
In just a second, I want to get to what we saw from the offense, right? Because I felt like this was a better, not best, but a better weekend than some we've seen recently. A little more balanced. We'll do that next, right here on the Barn Baseball Show. Welcome back to the Barn Baseball Show. Lindsay Crosby, Sonny the Sheriff, Brad Law, breaking down the series win over Tennessee. I do want to point out real quick, because it came up, everybody at D1 Baseball, I'm friends with some of those guys, right? Nothing against them. Everybody at D1 Baseball apparently picked Tennessee to win the series. And I just want to make sure everybody clarify. All three members of this show had this as a 2-1 Auburn series win. So, pat all of us on the back. We all know ball. I'm excited about that. I still think it's Brad's assessment of why people just defaulted to Tennessee winning or sweeping made a lot of sense. But this Auburn baseball team is something special, and I think we saw that this weekend. All right, looking at the 260, you batted 260 in this series. Tennessee actually out-hit you from an offensive perspective. They batted 280, 27 of 96. Auburn was 26 of 100, but you outscored them by 11 runs. And that's with just 3 home runs and just 7 extra base hits. I'm trying to kind of piece together what was different for Auburn versus Tennessee. And it felt like for Auburn, you were doing Butch's thing of passing the baton, right? You were able to get, to do your job at your at bat and get it to the next guy and string together multiple hits and have good innings. Whereas Tennessee very much, it felt like maybe struggled a little bit in that area.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, it just felt like whenever the next guy was up, it was like, here you go. And nobody panicked. Nobody did anything. And it was just good to see this weekend against, obviously, going and playing this caliber and in this type of stadium too. And so, I mean, even game 2, nobody really just had to blow up innings. Like, obviously, Parker gives up that homer for the game-tying homer, but he struck out 3 of the 5 batters he faced. And, that's going to happen. It is what it is. But, I mean, obviously, game 1 and 3 were just dominant from the staff. They just kept whatever was rolling. The starter had rolling.
Yeah, I look at the stats, and you hit 21 points lower. Most of Tennessee's hits came in game 2. Yeah. They had 15 or 16 hits in game 2, which means
17 hits.
17. All right, so 17 hits in game 2 of the series. They had 10 in the other 2 games combined. Again, that's how sometimes stats can be skewed. But here's another thing. Tennessee had 27 hits. Auburn had 26. So you get a +1 advantage there for Tennessee, right? Walks. Mm-hmm. Auburn drew 13 walks. They only walked Tennessee 8 times. So now you're +4 base runners for Auburn. Mm-hmm. Stolen bases. Auburn stole 9 bases. Tennessee stole 0. So now that's 9 times you've advanced either into scoring position or second to third that Tennessee didn't do.
And that was something Butch said they wanted to do specifically.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to be aggressive.
Auburn committed 0 errors in the series. Tennessee committed 2. So now there's 2 more base runners. So you got on base. And
Auburn also turned 1 more double play than Tennessee did. So that's another +1 on eliminating a base runner that you got that Tennessee didn't.
The game that I'm telling you, I realize this an Auburn show, and we're there's some level of bias. For some of us, there's a huge level of bias, but Auburn just flat out looked like the better team. The best game Tennessee played all series, where they had 17 hits. They needed extra innings to win it. They needed a 9th inning home run to tie it, and then they needed to bring their ace back in on 1-day rest to get the win. Auburn just looked flat out like the better team objectively from pitch 1 to the last out. And
honestly, 5 runs on 17 hits it's
crazy.
It's not that good.
Not that much.
I mean, like, Sonny, what's that offensive meeting like? Like, what is Gabe doing to you guys if you have that many hits and you have 5 runs?
I mean, it feels like they just hit singles and then they got out 3 straight times. I mean, that's crazy. I'm trying to see how many. They had 1 extra base hit.
They had 4. They had
six
three.
doubles.
They had 3
4.
doubles and a homer in that game. 3 doubles and a homer.
Oh, one
in
homer.
game 2.
One homer. Yeah, okay.
One
One
homer.
homer and 3 doubles. Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, that's wild to have that many hits and that little runs with even 6 extra base hits.
Yeah.
I mean, those had to be just leadoff extra base hits.
Yeah,
And one of them was a home run.
They had back-to-back doubles once in that game, and it scored a run, obviously. So, yeah, they just didn't. They didn't. To what you guys are saying, they didn't link them together as much.
Mm-hmm.
You go to game 3, and Auburn in that 3rd inning, they get 4 straight guys on to start the inning. You always talk about passing the baton and linking up those at bats.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing a couple of innings later. They get 2 or 3 in a row on to start the inning. Auburn got out number 1 most of the time. And, they got it way more than Tennessee did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was a little bit of a lineup change in this one. We saw Derek Fabian for the first time not be the starter for the full weekend. He started 1 game. He got into all 3. Defensive replacement for Eric Snow late, but only started 1 of these 3 games. Goes 0 for 4 with the run scored. He did walk and then struck out 3 times. I understand his defense is really good. Like, he's the best defensive infielder on the team. He is the go-to defensive guy at shortstop, and that's why he got in both those games late. But what does it say about Auburn being willing to make a change that big this late in the schedule? Because I know a lot of people, myself included, wondered, hey, I know Butch likes to defer to defense up the middle, center field, shortstop, catcher, and he's talked before about the push and pull between him and the assistant coaches on getting a good hitter in there versus his preference of a defender. What's it say about this coaching staff that they're willing to make a change that significant this late in the year?
I think it shows their trust in Derek, knowing that he knows his role and he knows what he's good at, and that he's not gonna be. I mean, that sucks for Derek, right? It's not. Yeah. You don't want to see that ever, but it just shows that Derek's bought in, just like we were talking about with Fisher. It's just a different role. You saw two of our main guys have different roles this weekend, and they both just put their head down and did it.
I'll also be interested to see next weekend or this weekend against South Carolina, if that stays. I think Derek was a little bit under the weather this weekend. There was kind of a bug that's gone through the area the last couple of weeks.
Doesn't help, yeah.
I don't think he was at full strength. I don't know how much that played into it or not. Right. But, it's if I look specifically at Eric Snow and his stats on the weekend, and all right, 3 for 11, not bad. 2 runs scored, 1 strikeout. The guy just does not strike out. And if you're trying to get the offense more consistent, you need a guy you need guys who put the ball in play, make the other team make a mistake. And Auburn had more strikeouts as a pitching staff than the Tennessee staff did. Auburn pitchers struck out 31. Auburn hitters struck out 27 times. So, keep putting the ball in play.
And while Snow didn't draw a walk, he did get hit by a pitch, so he found ways to get on. And then he stole 2 bags while he was on as well. And that's something we talked about with him when he was leading off all the time, was he wasn't necessarily that aggressive on the base paths. He was putting the ball in play and making the defense work. And this is, again, going back to what Butch said on Thursday, and what, before we talked to Butch, Brad, you pointed out on the show, is that Auburn needs to run more. Yeah. They absolutely did. Bristol Carter got thrown out once. I think Derek got thrown out 1 time. But again, 9 for 11 on the base paths. Who had Ike Irish with 4 stolen bases? I think coming into the weekend, if I picked somebody to steal more than 2 bags, I don't think I would have picked Ike. He's run plenty this year. I just didn't necessarily think I'd pick him to be the guy who led the team with 4 stolen bases.
Crazy.
In hindsight, it makes sense, though, because that dude is aggressive. He is the embodiment of aggressive play. And if he thought he had just the slightest advantage on Tennessee with long deliveries or slow deliveries and the catch. Yeah, he's taking off, and he didn't waste any time.
Yeah. He did also lead the team in getting on base. He was on 8 separate times, so I guess that makes sense. Scored 6 of those, by the way, 6 runs, which is always big. Sonny,
stolen bases.
Do I remember you stealing a base recently? Maybe not recently. I remember you doing it at Auburn, I think, once, and then you did it.
No college stolen base.
No, but Rocket City, maybe. I think you stole second.
I did. I had one in Rocket City and in Salt Lake.
There you go. Oh, speaking of things you did, can we talk about on Sunday your grand slam? What happened there? What was that? You just got a good pitch?
Yeah, I guess Auburn closed the series and won, so it transferred over to the bat.
There you go. And I'm trying to remember this. It looked like it was maybe like a hanging cutter up and in. And you just kind of got in on it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Sweeper up and in.
Sweeper, there you go. I saw the movement, couldn't figure out what it was from that weird camera angle in Knoxville. It's not a normal angle.
It's weird. It's like up top right of the batter's eye. I don't know.
What a weird place to have that.
Yeah.
But either way. Okay, so I think we need a little bit of a bigger conversation now, updating the postseason picture, okay? You are 13-11 in conference, 33-15 overall, and there's a couple places have you as a top 5 team at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I want to pose the question, if you host a regional but aren't a top 8 national seed, given where you are now, going into South Carolina at home and then on the road to Ole Miss, is that, based on where you are now, a disappointing end to the season? Or is that we've already exceeded external expectations? We're happy with where we are. We're just in the dance.
That's hard question, because
that's why I wanted to ask it.
Yeah. I mean, I think anytime you host is big time. So it being the first 16 teams.
Yep.
But I mean, for them to be in the top 8 conversation, I think they still got to handle business these last 2 weekends. Like, it's still got to be winning the series to like have a for sure top 8. I mean, obviously their RPI is great and everything, but you can't say, oh, I'm a top 8 seed and then drop a series of South Carolina and then maybe drop a series of Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That just can't happen.
So at least 4-2.
Yeah, at least.
Okay.
And here's, if you're 4-2, if you get 4 of the next 6 in any form, 3 South Carolina, 1 Ole Miss, or 2-2, or 1-4, that doesn't give me a great feeling to lose a home series, but then go get. So if you get 4, you got 17 wins in the SEC. You got the number 1 strength of schedule in the country. You will be a top 5 RPI team. It's 17 wins in the league that's added Texas and Oklahoma, two top 25 programs. To me, if you're not a top 8 seed with that resume, the whole that whole system's messed up.
Yeah.
Tell me, make the case that Auburn doesn't have a top 8 resume when their only series losses are to Texas and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Make the case.
I think when I was looking at the D1 baseball projections the other day, I think the thing that they were focusing, they were looking really hard at RPI, and they were looking at Auburn beat Vandy, Vandy beat Georgia, Georgia beat Auburn. And so because of that, and because where you're placed in RPI, because Vandy's up there with you as well, I think Vandy's third in RPI, that if you have the similar conference record, it gets really difficult to pick 2 of the 3, and you could be left out almost by chance, really. It's just kind of, I think they called it a beauty pageant at that point. Something that is frustrating to me, though, and I haven't looked to see who they played. Auburn's strength of schedule dropped from 1 to 2. And I went to go look. Texas Tech is number 1 in strength of schedule. And I don't know how Texas Tech could be number 1 in strength of schedule unless they played Texas in 3 separate series this year. They're 16-28, but it's like, I know they went to North Carolina early in the year. UC Irvin has been pretty good. I think they're projected to be a number 1 seed.
I know you have Texas.
Yeah, like I knew they played Texas, and you have like TCU, and I think they maybe had a midweek against Oklahoma or a tournament against Oklahoma or something.
They lost, yeah.
Yeah, but like the Big 12, I just don't feel like if you have a mostly Big 12 schedule, you should be having a harder strength of schedule than an SEC team.
Yeah,
who had a strong non-con too.
Yeah, that's tough, and they've lost and they lost those games. I mean,
they
lost all 3 to North Carolina, and they lost all 3 to UC.
Their RPI is a lot lower. Yeah.
Okay.
They are
well, whatever. You got the number 2 strength of schedule and the number 4 RPI.
Yeah.
Make the case you're not a top 8
Yeah.
seed. Get out
There
of
you
here.
go.
Come
Yeah,
on.
I mean,
Texas Tech is 57th in RPI because they lost one of those games.
Yeah, I mean, if we do what we're supposed to, we say we get to 17, right?
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Okay, but if you're in that 15, 16 range, I mean, they're not going to put 8 SEC teams in the top 8, and that's what. Just because, I mean, no matter if they were the 8 best teams, they're just not going to do it.
Right.
And, obviously we're still not talking about how they do in the SEC tournament as well. I mean, if they win a couple games there, then it's a no-doubter.
Yeah.
But I think 17 is the number. If they get to 17, it's automatic no matter what, counting the tournament and these last 2 series.
Yeah. And I think that does add a little bit of intrigue to the SEC tournament. Like we've been talking recently about how do you play the tournament if you're a host or if you're a top 8. Well, if you got a big cluster of teams, and right now I think 3rd place and 10th place in the league are separated by just a couple of games, maybe 2 or 3 games. So if you get this cluster of teams, maybe the tournament becomes a little more consequential than it might otherwise be. It's not usually those postseason tournaments don't have a lot of bearing, but maybe this is cause for intrigue this year.
Yeah, and Auburn beat one of the teams ahead of them in the conference standings in Tennessee, and you still play Ole Miss, who's ahead of you in the conference standings last I checked. And so you have the ability to definitely make a lot of moves there. Quick reminder for everybody, there is no midweek here on Tuesday. Auburn's back in action on Thursday at 7 p.m. versus South Carolina. Thursday at 7, Friday at 6. Friday is senior day, so it's recognized all of our seniors here. And then Saturday is the not the home finale. Saturday, 2:30 p.m., the finale of the series against South Carolina. The home finale is next week on Tuesday versus Jacksonville State. A revenge game. Yeah, a revenge game there for Auburn.
It's on the schedule.
It's on the schedule.
Wait, what do you mean it's a revenge game?
You played them a lot closer than you wanted to. You didn't lose to them, but you played them a lot closer than you wanted to. Yeah.
I hear you. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. You didn't lose to them. You just played them.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot closer than you wanted. Got it. It was a lot closer than you wanted against Jacksonville State. This has been the Barn Baseball Show for Tuesday, May 6th. If you're listening on audio, do us a favor, 5-star review for the Barn Podcast Network. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the Barn Podcast channel here. Go sign up to thebarnauburn.com. $25 off an annual subscription if you sign up now. For Brad Law, for Tony Vitello, I'm Lindsay Crosby, and this has been the Barn Baseball Show.